And we welcome you to this edition of In the Circle. Eric Lopez alongside Victor Anderson. Packed show, ladies and gentlemen. Big show coming up. We're gonna, if you're listening on the podcast feed, you're gonna hear the interview with Mandy Gardner, Iowa assistant coach of the Hawkeyes. What a tremendous job she's done. We'll talk about the Hawkeyes and her career as a player and as now as a coach under head coach Renee Lors Gillespie. Iowa having a very big turnaround season. Victor would know. He covered some of their games. We'll also talk about the top 25 player of the year finalists for Division One. Victor has some strong disagreements. I will listen to him and hear him out. But we're going to begin the show on the podcast feed with the D2 regional rankings that came out. Now, if you're watching, this is, folks, we always promote this, and it's almost, sometimes you're like, whatever. This is why you do it. If you're subscribing to the YouTube channel, you're about to watch this segment that is playing right now, which we're going to break down the D2, because Victor normally does a D2 segment on the YouTube channel. This is the segment, because this is the first regional rankings. We're also going to have the Mandy Gardner interview on our YouTube channel. If you're a podcast subscriber, you will have the entire episode. But that's why you need to subscribe to the podcast is an entirety, and you also have to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because there's a lot of content, and there's going to be more content coming in the coming days and weeks. And we will have details on that on the podcast version. But without big details there. So without further ado, Victor, we're going to open the show with Division 2, because on late Wednesday, as you foreshadowed, the first regional rankings came out. I don't know why they wait this late, but boy, they like to. And boy, were there some surprises to me anyway, as a casual. Now, you've been doing projections throughout on our YouTube channel. So you've been waiting for this day. So we will go through each region, but give me your initial reaction now with the first regional rankings comes out. What stands out to you?
Now, the biggest thing I want to stress to everybody with the first regional rankings, they are not listed 1 through 10. There are teams listed alphabetically in consideration. So keep that in mind, folks, and don't ask me why they do it. I don't know why they take this long to put the rankings out with 2 weeks left to go in the regular season.
So wait a minute. Anyway. So we still have no rankings.
Correct. We have no 1 through 10. These are the first regional quote unquote rankings are teams that are in consideration in the top 10. So
why? What are we doing? What are we doing, Victor? We got the season's almost over. How long are we waiting? Are you kidding me? Is this their way of doing this because they're trying to avoid criticism?
They're going to get criticism regardless.
That's what I don't get. Like, just put out the damn rankings out. Oh, my goodness. I didn't.
Oh. You're the one getting it. Okay, go figure. Eric's the one getting mad at Division 2, and I'll be the one when we talk about the player of the year in Division 1 of the podcast.
All right, it's role reversal. All right, go ahead. Read out the region.
All right. Here. So, in alphabetical order, we will start in the Atlantic region. Charleston, coached by my former coach, Michelle Frew, Calvin 27-6. East Stroudsburg, Fairmont State, Millersville, Notre Dame of Ohio, Seton Hill, Shippensburg, Slippery Rock, Westchester, and West Virginia Wesleyan. That is the Atlantic. Going to the Central region, again, alphabetical order. Central Oklahoma, who, by the way, took a doubleheader versus defending national champion Rogers State last week. And we're going to talk about, we may have, when D2 Tuesday comes out, that might impact my mock regional rank. Harding, Minnesota Duluth, Missouri Western, Missouri Southern State, Oklahoma Baptist, Rogers State, Southern Arkansas, Washburn, and Winona State. That's the Central. In the East, the reigning regional champions, Delphi, Bentley, Caldwell, Felician, Franklin Pierce, Georgian Court, Malloy, Pace, St. Anselm, and Wilmington, Delaware. Midwest, Grand Valley State, Illinois Springfield, Lewis, Maryville of Ohio, McKendree, Northwood, Ohio Dominican, Saginaw Valley, Rebecca Nazarene, and with Indy. South Central, Angelo State, Cameron, Colorado Christian, Lubbock Christian, Oklahoma Christian, Regions of Colorado, St. Edwards, St. Mary's, Texas, Texas Tyler, West Texas A&M. In the South region that I know very well, Ms. Lopez, Alabama Huntsville, Auburn Montgomery, Embry-Riddle, Florida Tech, Mississippi College, Nova Southeastern, St. Leo, Tampa, Valdosta State, West Alabama. Important with the South, and I'll talk about that shortly. Southeast region, Carson Newman, Cottbus, Columbus State, who knocked off North Georgia twice to end their long winning streak. Francis Marion, King, Lenore Rhine, Lake Memorial, Newberry, North Georgia, Wingate. And finally, in the West region, Azusa Pacific, Biola, Cal Dominguez Hills, Monterey Bay, San Bernardino, San Marcos, Cordia, Northwest Nazarene, San Francisco State, and Sonoma State. So again, those are the regions, alphabetically 10 teams. Don't ask me how it makes sense. It doesn't.
All right. Is there any teams that surprise you didn't make this list on any particular region?
It's hard for me to evaluate that at this particular point in time. I have to do a little deeper dive in numbers in regards to that. I'll definitely have my thoughts on it. Go back to Tuesday, which will be back at its regularly scheduled time, Tuesdays at 6 o'clock on our YouTube. But the one thing I'm surprised at, let's go to the region that you know very well, but let's go to the South, Eric, where Florida Tech is in there, as well as Embry-Riddle. Those two teams are kind of jockeying for position. And here's the big thing about the South, and I've stressed this ever since we started this podcast. The SIAC champion, that's the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. That's the HBC, that's the conference of the HBCU. They will have an automatic champion that will be outside of the top 10. So they're going to likely get the number 8 seed, meaning that you need to be within the top 7 to get yourself into the South tournament. Why do I bring that up? The Gulf South has a conference tournament the final week of the season before the selection show on that Monday. The Sunshine State Conference does not. Two big factors what could be important. Number one, Valdosta State, Alabama Huntsville, Mississippi College. That three-way race, whoever wins the regular season and or the tournament championship could be in line for a number 1 or number 2 seed. Number 2, and I'll bring this up also on D2 Tuesday, Tampa, the new number 1 ranked team in the nation. First time ever for that program. Congratulations to Coach Leslie Cantor and company. Aaron Kimberger and St. Leo, number 11. Woo! If both teams hold serve this week, you could have in Tampa next Friday and Saturday a matchup between 2 top 10 teams. If you heard my previous editions of D2 Tuesday, I mentioned that possibility happening, and we are 1 week away from possibly seeing St. Leo in the top 10 going to number 1 Tampa, which could decide the Sunshine State Conference Championship. It could decide various awards, Coach of the Year, Player of the Year, Pitcher of the Year, et cetera, and could also determine who gets the other top seed if it's not taken by 2 or 3 of the Gulf South triumvirate of Valdosta State, Mississippi College, and Alabama Huntsville. So a lot at stake potentially in that Tampa St. Leo series next weekend, as long as they hold serve.
You mentioned a little caveat with that particular region. Are you concerned that we could see a very good team in that Southeast region that feels they're in, that gets left out because of that little caveat? And in fact, I will bring this up. It's coming up in a future, not the next one, but in a future D2 Tuesday.
Ooh.
Ready for this? Yeah. We're gonna go back. We're gonna turn back the clock, Victor, because we are at the 10-year anniversary of arguably maybe the most controversial Selection Monday in Division II history, and we're gonna relive that story, Victor, in a future special edition of D2 Tuesday.
Why?
Because people want to know. You keep kind of teasing it. You bring it up every so often. And from time to time, the Tarlis Regional. That is the documentary we're going to bring out, Victor. We're gonna break it down on that day and why it was so controversial. There has been so many rumors and innuendo from that particular regional and what transpired that we will discuss on a future D2 review. So just get you ready, Victor. We'll probably post that on the anniversary of that selection Monday. One of the most controversial selection days in history of Division II. Because I still can't believe that happened, and the way that transpired, and the way you feel is just an incredible story. I don't want to give it away because we're going to do a special on that. Because you're shaking your head on that.
I was not prepared for that because that's why I was not.
Well, now you know because you have teased this.
Have to battle.
You have teased this in many episodes about. Don't get me started on 2013 and Rollins getting left out.
We're gonna go.
It's kind of, you know what it is. It's kind of like the Bad Beats and Scott Van Pelt. And they always ask about that clip with the Cincinnati
67 on your horse.
Yeah, and that bowl game, and then they finally did a segment on explaining why that game is part of the graphics.
Oh, Northwestern and Ohio State, yes.
That one too. So we're gonna do this. That's the same thing here. That's what we're doing. We're gonna explain to the audience because people are like, "What is he talking about?" 10 years ago. For those that may not be aware, we're gonna bring that up. But that was you still haven't gotten over it. You say you said it on the air, on record. You will never get over that day.
There are numerous days that I'll never get over. That is one of them.
Fair. Here's my problem with this not being ranked. I can't believe they didn't rank it. If you're on the outside, if your school is not listed in any of these regionals, what's your message to them?
You're still playing ball, honestly. But it's more towards the teams in the Gulf South, like a West Florida, for instance, like a Union. Because you still can make the Gulf South tournament. You can still win your way in. If you're a team in the Sunshine State Conference, you're probably thinking to yourself, we got at least 2 weeks left in our season. And for some players, 2 weeks left for our career. So you're probably playing out the string. And this is why having a conference tournament is so important, because if you get hot at the right time, you sneak your way in. And we've seen in other sports before, it's not necessarily the best team that wins the whole thing. It's the team that is playing the best ball going into the tournament.
Is the Sunshine State Conference overtaking the Gulf South? You have said for years the Gulf South is the SEC of Division II.
I will. Let me say this: the gap has definitely closed between the Gulf South and the Sunshine State Conference. I will say that. That being said, it would not surprise me if Alabama Huntsville, Valdosta State, Mississippi College, one of those gets one of those top 2 seeds, meaning that you host. But here's the other thing to keep in mind. Both Tampa and St. Leo, they both split versus Valdosta State. Tampa doing it in Valdosta, St. Leo at home. And St. Leo has a win early in the season, opening week of the season, versus Auburn Montgomery, currently in this regional rankings, quote unquote. So
rankings, those are sure, rank. What a tease.
Rankings.
Terrible. It's terrible. Just like
you know
what this is? This reminds me of like what the WWE does from time to time, where they'll promote a main event on a Raw show, and you're excited, and then it never happens. It never happens. It's like a few weeks ago when Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar they promoted it. That's going to be against the Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Oh, that's going to be the biggest Raw tag match ever. Blah blah blah. What happened?
And then it never happens because Brock attacks Cody from behind.
Well, this is what this is. And so I'm going to quote Cody Rhodes and how he described Brock Lesnar this past week.
Whoa. We're on YouTube and podcast.
That's right.
So we don't need to.
This not putting out the rankings now, to me, that you're a coward. That's a coward move, man. Put the rankings out. Come on. They've done it all these years, Victor. We've never had this problem before. Really? We're going to wait till she came in at. Come on.
And the thing is, they usually have rankings 1 through 10, but this year they decided to change it. We're going to do it alphabetically. What?
Do you guys don't want anybody to cover Division II, clearly.
Well, if you check the NCAA website, obviously they don't. We've had more D2 We've had more D2 Tuesdays out, and that's with me taking 2 weeks off. Then they had stories on NCAA.com all season long. But hey, we're here for you, fans. We're here for you. Now, let's continue to the talking softball and not the weeping and the gnashing teeth. I do want to talk about the Central because I mentioned
the Central region. The Central region.
Yes,
you
the
broke
Central
up there.
region.
Central region. Yeah.
Yes, the Central region because I have to bring up the fact Central Oklahoma's doubleheader sweep versus Rogers State. It was around this time last year where people were thinking that it'll be Central Oklahoma or Washburn trying to get that number 1 seed. Central Oklahoma gets knocked out early. Rogers State wins the MIAA tournament title. They get the 1 seed. They not only ride it all the way to the regional title, but they ride it all the way to a national championship. Now you have Central Oklahoma, the Bronchos, who get the doubleheader against the top 10 foe. And newsflash, when I do my mock D2 rankings that'll be coming out on Tuesday, I will likely have Central Oklahoma as my number 1 seed in the Central region. Now, does that mean Rogers State is out of the running to host? Absolutely not. They still have a chance to win the MIAA tournament. Now, I will say, Central Oklahoma's regional record, 33-6. Record for Rogers State, 28-8. Advantage Bronchos. Bronchos won the doubleheader. Again, head-to-head matchup, I give Central Oklahoma the advantage there. Do not count out Harding. Do not count out Washburn as possibilities to try and get in that line. We had 2 seed to host along battling with Rogers State. So a lot will be decided on how Harding does in their conference tournament and what Washburn and Rogers State do in the MIAA softball tournament coming up, the final, that second weekend.
All right, so Tuesday, D2 Tuesday, you're going to actually do a projection rankings. You're not just going to put them in alphabetical order.
No.
Not
alphabetical order. No alphabetical order, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take the rankings as presented, take the results from the week, calculate all the numbers, crunch everything, put it all together, and we'll have regional rankings ready for you on Tuesday. And then when the rankings come out on Wednesday, we may do something similar.
Are we sure that it's going to come out next Wednesday? They're not just going to go alphabetical. Maybe they're going to go, maybe they're going to go like the Super Bowl route. Maybe we'll just go, with the numerical. Like, I mean, are we sure?
I don't know.
Anyway, all right. I got it.
Wow.
Let's move on.
Again, Aaron's the one agitated about Division II because
you're promoting the rankings. It's nobody can alphabetical order.
It's a region. It's not a rankings. It's a regional listing. That's what it is. It's not a ranking. It's not a rankings. It's listings.
You think you intimidated them by you coming out with your? Do you think you intimidated them? I think you scared them. I think you scared them with your rankings. I think you scared them.
I have that impact on people I serve.
All right. For our podcast listeners, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, you're going to listen to the Mandy Gardner interview I had, Iowa assistant coach. What a job she's done. On our YouTube channel, if you're watching this, you can also watch the Mandy Gardner interview as well. And that's why you need to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to have more Division II content. I mentioned the big announcement. We're going to do a D2 special edition, D2 Tuesday, 10-year anniversary of one of the most controversial decisions in the history of Division II that Vic will never forget.
I still can't believe you're trying to pull this off.
And he's going to relive his story because people want to know. We may have other stuff planned, Division 1 and 2 as well. This is In the Circle.